Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. My name is Andrew Grossett and welcome to another episode of Rise and Grind. So, I'm just going to get straight in there with this one because this is an oldie favourite. If you fail to plan, you said it, you plan to fail. So, I wanted to touch on this one because I think a lot of people misunderstand that analogy and only attach it to business, only attach it to actually launching of a business, running of a business, conducting yourself in business. And I think if you do that, you lose the power of it. If that's the only element that you put it into and infuse it into your life, then this might be the reason as to why the rest of your life isn't going the way it needs to be, and ultimately why, even despite the fact that you have this locked down to a T in your business world, why if it's not transferred into your personal circles as to why that's not working also. When we talk about planning, we're not just talking about, planning to go somewhere. We're not just talking about planning to achieve one particular thing. In this respect, what I'm talking about here is your management of your time. And when we talk about the management of your time, we're also talking about the allocation of your time. We're talking about what you spend your time on and who you spend your time with. Now, if I put this into a context of man that owns his own business. So a guy that runs his own business has the temptation of spending all of his time at work because that's what's important, because the business requires all of this energy and all of this time. Yes. But what about the other areas of your life? What about the family at home that now don't see you? What about the kids at home that now don't see you? What about the wife at home that doesn't see you? The friends outside that, guess what, don't see you? What about the me time that you should really be infusing into your life? The time that you spend with just yourself, about yourself. That doesn't happen. Now, whilst the work element of it is all encompassing and all important and has all of these little things that kick off every 2 seconds that are really, really urgent but not important, you forget about the bits at home where the investment in time is really counted. The people at home that will forgive you for not spending all of your time there, but may not be there in the long run if you don't spend some of your time there. If you don't explain to them why you can't spend as much time there. If you don't vocalize to them that you still care. Many people assume that those that love them will understand that they always love them because your feelings haven't changed. Unfortunately, if you don't vocalize that enough and let these people know, then their own fears and their own doubts and their insecurities can become louder than your assumed or presumed feeling. When we talk about your allocation of time, especially within this episode here, it's highlighting areas that I myself personally have got drastically wrong in the past. I've put all of my efforts into creating this entity, this business, this thing that I'm pushing out there into the world. I'm going, look at what I've done. But then you lose contact with your kids, you lose the interaction with your other half, you lose the connection with yourself. Well, it's a question that I like to ask people because it left me dumbstruck for so long. Is if you had a day and the only rules were to do with that day was that you had to spend it by yourself, you had to do things for yourself, what would you do? Now you see, about 3-4 years ago, someone asked me that question and I had no answer. And I mean I had no answer. I had no answer for a good month. I didn't know. And the reason why I didn't know is because I hadn't planned my time and allocated me any of that time. All of my time went into one particular box and I hadn't allocated it to anything else, let alone myself. So I lost contact with myself. I didn't know myself anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I could possibly do if I wasn't doing that one particular thing. I'd lost contact with my kids and family and friends and what have you on the other side of it, because unless I was talking about this one subject, I didn't have anything to talk about because I didn't do anything else, because I never went anywhere else. My experiences lapsed. Everything else started to crash and crumble because all efforts were being placed in one basket, and the other plates that required the energy to keep them spinning were just crashing all around me. If you don't take the time to plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I urge you to take a look at your own lives right now and draw a little mental thing in your head right now and ask yourself, where's your time going? When's the last time you spent an afternoon with yourself? When's the last time you spent an afternoon by yourself? How much time are you spending with your family? And of that time that you're spending with your family, how much of that is quality time? Your spouse, your other half, the person that's walking alongside you into this battle called life, how much time do they get? Now when I say time, the time allocation is relative to the individual. You know? And this is where the quality of time comes in. Like, I take half an hour to myself every day that I'm up in central London. And I walk to a particular park that's just round the corner from Charing Cross Station, and I take half an hour. You have no idea how much that half an hour means to me, to be sat on a bench in a park doing absolutely diddly squat. Nothing. It's just Andrew void time, and it's allocated. It's planned for. So it doesn't matter what else is going on in my life, because that half an hour is mine, because I've planned around it and enabled that to occur. If you're feeling panicky, if you're feeling like life is getting the better of you, if you're feeling like things are swallowing on top of you, if you feel like you're heading towards a crisis, take a look at your allocation of time and see where your time is going. Write it down. Other thing, when you're doing your to-do list, how many of you actually sit there and work out how long each task that you're planning to do in this one day is going to take you? It was an exercise I went through a little while ago, and it's just like, I had this list that it wasn't possible for it to be done, but I was planning it, and I'm getting to the end of the day and I'm feeling frustrated and disappointed because I've still got elements on my list. But when you take a look at each individual task on there and give it a time allocation, and you put it alongside the amount of time there is actually in the day that I was awake, and bear in mind I sleep for a very little amount of time, it wasn't possible. Check your plan and make sure what you're thinking about doing, desiring to do, wanting to do is actually possible within the time frame that you've given it. Then take a look at your allocation of time and go, right, have I covered all the areas in my life that matter to me? Have all the areas in my life that I care about got an allocation of time? And is that allocation of time fair to the feeling, to the emotion, to the I care about you that I want to put across? A lot of the times it's not about the amount of time that you spend with someone, particularly in a personal circumstance. It's about the quality of that time and how much of your undivided attention those people get when they get it. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to sail straight out of here. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, we will be back next Monday with the next edition of Rise and Grind. Please keep your questions coming in for the Ask KG show. Again, as I said last week, if there's any suggestions of topics that you want me particularly to cover in this episode here as well, by all means send them in, drop me an email, andrew@andrewgrossett.com, and we'll get to it and we'll get underneath the skin of it. Anyway, as usual, in the meantime, until next week, you stay strong, you stay focused,